A new season starts for Arizona basketball. I know that there was a lot of frustration, but could a winning streak be in play here?
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now, Arizona basketball Big 12 play is here. All right, listen. I know I'm just like I'm just like everybody else. I know that this was an incredibly frustrating out of conference schedule for a variety of reasons. First, I think the thing that was annoying is that there were a lot of games where Arizona just did not play good, smart, tough basketball, and that is my concern. They just didn't play good, tough basketball. That's pretty much the only way I can put it. Giving up wide open threes, stupid turnovers, just a lot of dumb things, and you fumbled away some games that you just shouldn't have fumbled away. It's really that simple. But you know what? Hope springs eternal. You're going into Big 12 play now, and you've got some winnable games on the docket to start off with. And docket sound like a legal term. Okay, but the first one that we need to talk about, though, obviously, is the game tonight, and that is against TCU. All right, I am just going to say this right now. Arizona should beat TCU. I don't know how else to put this. Arizona should beat TCU. Looking at TCU, again, I'm not going to pretend that I've watched a lot of TCU games, but TCU is just not very good. I guess you could say the same thing about Arizona to this point. But the things that Arizona generally really struggles with is defending the three-point line. That is an issue. Well, TCU doesn't make a lot of threes, so there is obviously that. That is a good thing that Arizona has going for it. Now, and up front, this isn't a team that just has a lot of guys that can beat you. Excuse me, has a lot of guys that can beat you, and those are generally the kind of teams that worry me. Players that can just go off. I think of West Virginia. I think of Oklahoma, where Arizona just had guys that couldn't guard anybody, and I think that was a big problem for it. So let's start up front, though. Interesting player in all of this is Ernest Udeh Jr. All right, coming in here gets about 9 points, 8 boards, and a couple blocks per game. I wish Arizona had a big man like this. Well, maybe they do, and Emmanuel Steven off the bench. But I wish Arizona still had a big man like this. He is, he's pretty active. He's not overly skilled, obviously, but there's a lot to like about his game, but he's also not going to drop 25 points on you, and if he drops 25 points on you, that is probably a bigger concern if you're the University of Arizona, because he is not that type of player. But he's also bigger. He's whoever it is, whether it's Trey Townsend or Tobe Awaka, they're going to be giving up a lot of, girth to the equation, and that's something that is going to be it's going to be interesting to see how that one does play out. But overall, though, that's one that he's a good solid player. He's definitely not one, though, that you should look at and say, man, he's just going to smoke Arizona. Then another one to keep an eye on here is Trezarian White on the wing, 6'6", 185. Really thin dude, averages about 10 points per game. Another guy, when I look at this TCU team, there's not a lot of players that I look at and I'm like, all right, man, they could just go off for 35 points. That's not really what I see. That's not really what I see here. And again, maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's not really what I see. So there's obviously that. Now, when it comes to this is going to be another matchup. Arizona should be better than these guys. Arizona should be better on the wings there, and that's just kind of the way it is. But because if they're not, and we're going to get to Arizona's wings in a second, there's obviously a bigger problem at play. Now, Frankie Collins, probably their best player. ASU's Frankie Collins, a very good player, but Frankie Collins is out for the season. He is broke his foot. So that's a pest. Again, Frankie Collins, never going to be a guy that's going to shoot 55% from the field, but he was a defensive pest. And not only was he a defensive pest, he was somebody that, that I think that was just difficult. That was just difficult to rein in. And him not being out there is nice because, again, Arizona's got a clear point guard advantage. Then another one, you got Vashon Alley. I don't know how that's pronounced. On the wing, another one. All these guys pretty much averaged like 8 to 10 points per game. Now, you could say that they're going to slow Arizona down, kind of like UCLA did, and I don't know that you would be mistaken in that one, but like I said, I'm going to keep coming back to this. There's not an abundance of shooters, and there's not an abundance of guys that can just go off, and that's kind of what worries me when Arizona plays teams that just have guys that can go off. Now, then you've got another one. Then big up front, you got Brendan Wenzel. Brendan Wenzel, another one. Stop me if you've heard this before. 9 points, 4 boards. I don't really. Now you could say that to a certain extent that maybe watch out for some of these guys on the perimeter. Watch out for some of these guys from the 3-point line. And you know what? That would probably be Wenzel. Wenzel worries me a little bit here. Wenzel, I am not a huge fan of this because he averages 9 points, but he also shoots 5 threes per game. That's one that I really need Arizona to keep an eye on. As a matter of fact, if you were to tell me that somebody was going to go for 20 points and it wasn't expected, it would be Brendan Wenzel. That is just a player that, like I said, he is that's going to be a difficult matchup for Arizona because Arizona doesn't defend the 3, as we know. Again, I'm not trying to take any slights. Arizona just does not defend the 3, and that's just always going to be, I think, kind of the way it is for Arizona. It's frustrating, but it is the way that it is. Okay, now. So that's kind of what you need to know about TCU. Now they do have a good win against Xavier, but overall you look at their resume. Heck, I mean, but you could say this about Arizona too. You look at Arizona's resume and you're like, it's just not that good. So either way, that's kind of where I'm at. This is a game that I'm gonna sit on that Arizona should win. Arizona should absolutely beat TCU. It's at home. If Arizona doesn't beat TCU, then there's going to be a lot of concerns. And because, again, TCU is not that good of a basketball team. It's just not. And I think you start to wonder at that point then where Arizona is with everything because just something isn't quite adding up there at that point. So I guess we're going to find out that one and how that does all play out. Now, when it comes to Arizona on the wings, this is a game, too, and I'm going to keep coming back to this. The keys to victory for Arizona are very simple, and it starts and it ends with Caleb Love. Caleb Love has to be aggressive. I'm going to sit here and say from the very beginning that if Caleb Love is aggressive, I will deal with the rest. And by aggressive, I mean getting to the basket, getting to the cup, showing people what he can do, showing people that why he was an All-American last year. That is the first thing. Because when Caleb Love goes out there and just kind of goes through the motions, that isn't doing anything for anybody at all. And I think that's what's so frustrating about the whole kind of Caleb Love experience is that you brought him in here to shoot the ball. Need you to shoot the ball, need you to be aggressive with it, and again, need you to get to the bucket, period. That's what I'm going to keep coming back to. I need you to get to the basket. If you get to the basket, then you get to the free throw line and you start to feel better about it. Now, we're going to continue to talk about Caleb Love, but first, Rocket Money, my friends. Rocket Money. Okie dokie. Check it out at Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me, seriously. And I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for. And Rocket Money made it easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Okay, here's the deal. Cancel your unwanted subscription and reach your final or your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked on. rocketmoney.com/locked on. Again, Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings up. So again, check this out. It brings everything together in one place. Check it out at rocketmoney.com/locked on. Okay, now, so there we go. We got that. Didn't get it out of the way. That's just kind of the way it is. All right, now let's talk more about Caleb Love. Again, I'm going to keep coming back to this. When you brought Caleb Love back, you said that you needed Caleb Love to be an All-American because he was an All-American last year. You need him to get those vibes going, that good juju. And, and if you can, then Arizona's going to be in good shape. But you know it, too, when you see it with Caleb Love early on. With Caleb, you just kind of know that, all right, is he going to be aggressive? What's the look in his eye? Is it the, I don't really care, I'm going for it look? Or is it the, well, just kind of here, Because that look does nothing for anybody. Then KJ Lewis, like I talked about KJ, every game with KJ, I need to have 12 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists with a limited amount of dribbles. We talked about this before, but the problem with KJ, I think at this stage, is that he's going into this with a, I think the wrong mentality. And that wrong mentality is that, trying to turn into like a cookie cutter type approach. You're not Mitch Richmond. That's not, you weren't blessed with those skills. You were blessed with some really, really good, lucrative skills, but they were different. Cutting to the basket, finishing, playing really, really good defense. Then, on top of that, also making some plays where you are you're kind of in the spot where it's like, okay, now where can we move from here? Can I continue to be that? Can I continue to be that player, kind of like a Reggie Geary, that was going to defensively, that was going to block shots, that was going to get up in your face, and again be a tertiary ball handler, and then also be able to finish around the cup. That's what you need. No more of a trying to dribble, because at this point KJ can't dribble. It's unfortunate. Maybe he gets there, but right now KJ can't dribble. I complained about Pella Larson for 4 years not being able to dribble. Well, so it is what it is. But if KJ plays to his strengths, KJ is a very good player. KJ is a very good player, but he's got to play to his strengths. If you're trying to become something that you're not, then I think that's something that is going to be very, very difficult for everybody involved. So you obviously got to keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to Jaden Bradley, keep doing exactly what you're doing, Jaden Bradley. That is the best. That is the best part of that. Keep doing exactly what you are doing. Listen, he's not going to ever be a great shooter, but I need him to take the open shots. Because I think he can make them. Defensively, he's an absolute pest. I think that you can make the case that Jaden Bradley is the best defensive player here since probably Nick Johnson, or somebody like that. I'm not exactly sure, but somebody certainly in the early to mid Sean Miller era. He is he's a pest. He's a pest, and he's just a really, really good basketball player. He's the one player that you look at and you're like, all right, from an Arizona perspective, he's been good. He's been really, really good. Then up front, this is where it's difficult for me against it. Now, again, TCU, you're bigger. You got a guy that can block shots. That's obviously an aspect to all of this. But I think my concern, and what I'm going to keep coming back to about this with TCU and with Arizona is Trey Townsend. I mean, Trey Townsend's just been bad. Like, there's really no other way around it. He's a turnover machine. He doesn't rebound. The not rebounding and the little effort on that's I think the one that really kind of surprised me, because I thought that he would be more of an effort guy. He hasn't been really an effort guy. When it comes to rebounding, he doesn't even really box out. He just kind of stands there. He hasn't been good. He's been really, really bad, to be honest with you. Tobe Awaka, I can at least live with because he's at least going to get rebounds. And he tries hard. Townsend to me has just been if you're looking at a player outside of Caleb, there's been a lot of disappointing players on this team, but Trey Townsend, I think, has been one that's just been like, it's been an issue. I would look for a lot more Krivas in this game. I think with or not Krivas, Vasar. I think with Vasar, he can give you a little bit of the shot blocking presence. I don't want him shooting threes, though. There will be no 3-point shooting. No. There will be none of that. So, yes, there will be none of that. But overall, I'd like to see more of him. And I'd love to see more of Carter Bryant. It's weird. Like with Carter Bryant, obviously I want to see more of him. I want him to be able to play through his mistakes. But it's kind of weird because when I look at it, and I know that ADO's starting, but ADO is somebody that when he comes in, I feel pretty good about because it's kind of that Caleb Love mentality last year that next shot is going in. And he's a good shooter. He's a pretty good offensive player. So he's going to be somebody that I think Arizona is going to have to utilize more and more throughout the season because he can do some really, really good things. He just, like I said, he's just always going to be limited defensively. But again, this team doesn't really defend to begin with. So there's that. Now, when it comes to just everything else there, Emmanuel Steven, I'm curious to see if he and Conrad get some minutes. I liked what I said. Listen, we joked about Conrad, but I'm okay with what I've seen so far from Conrad. Maybe it's a my bad Conrad. We'll see. Rhymes, my bad Conrad. But it just kind of is what it is. When it comes to where this squad is, you just know that there's just going to be some limitations at this point. I do like seeing E-Man play. I like seeing Emmanuel Steven get a little bit more action because he's good. He's active, and you know what it is too. And somebody, I think it was Endogger, said this on the boards. You watch him, and there's just kind of an infectious energy. Yeah, I guess an infectious energy to how he plays. And Arizona needs more of that. Arizona's got too many guys that have just kind of been going through the motions that just haven't really been, doing everything that I think that you would hope that they could do. He brings it in, and he's a little bit different. And I think that's something that's exciting about. Something that's exciting about all of this is that he's got a little bit of a different edge to him. If you're going to not redshirt him, then you need to play him. Don't do the thing that Lute always would do with like Fendi Onabun, where you would take him out of the red shirt to play him 6 minutes and not play him. You're not going to redshirt him, play him. And honestly, I look at it from what I've seen. I don't really think that Mo Krivas has been that big of a loss because Mo was bad. Overall, Mo was just bad. Mo could finish around the hoop, but that was about it. Mo couldn't move. Mo was awful defensively. It just wasn't good. So I like seeing a little bit more Henry, and I like seeing a little bit more E-Man as well. So that part's exciting. Now, what would a win mean? A win for Arizona would be huge. And I know that it's just a win over TCU to start conference play, but Arizona's got to get that Power 4 win thing off their back. They've got to be able to get that win. And you start out 1-0 in conference, and then all of a sudden things become a little bit easier for you. And I think that's what's exciting about all of this is that if Arizona gets that win, then you look at it, you're like, all right, Cincinnati, and then you got a lot of games that are winnable. You got some Colorados, you got some Oklahoma States, you got some West Virginias. You got games that you can win. And that's where if you're Arizona, that's where I think that that's why I think you've got to be able to get this victory. You get that victory, then you start looking at it and like, all right, can we run a few off here? Who knows? But you're 4-1, 5-1 in Big 12 play, whatever the case may be. You start looking at it and saying, okay, all right, maybe things are turning the corner. Now, again, there's going to be some limitations on this team that just are always going to be there. Losing Umar Ballo, leader of men, was a big loss that I don't think that probably most people quantified. And then, and Keyshot obviously has been light years better than Trey Townsend. Arizona is a below the rim team, and that's a problem. Is that generally teams that are below the rim teams, that's going to be a difficult way to be able to make a living, but that's the way that it's going to be. So we'll find out. I like Arizona to win this game, though. I'm going Arizona 72, TCU 63. All right, now we are going to get into a little bit of some Arizona football tidbits, but first, there's your ad read. There is no ad read. It's a pumped in ad read. Okay, now Arizona football. I like this offseason so far. I think has been pretty good. I love getting in Seth Dagey. That's been a nice little move I think for Arizona. The other thing too that is exciting is you got Noah Fafita back, which is big. It's something I very much like about this. Also, the other thing too is that I think you getting an OC in here that knows what he's doing, that is a big part. Dino Babers didn't know what he was doing, clearly. Now, from a wide receiver perspective, you've done a nice job. And you brought in another running back as well. My main concern is my main concern right now is I'll be honest with you, and this is a huge concern, is the offensive and the defensive lines. I don't know if any of these guys coming in are any good, and I think that's the issue. I don't know if they're any good. Um, obviously you lost Big Jonah, you lost Wendell Moy, you lost Josh Baker. Bringing in some guys. Now again, you brought in the guy from Hawaii, so that's nice. And I think Big Rhino can play. Matthew Lotto, I think, has some potential to him. But there's just a lot of questions about that O line, and they're going to have to get coached up. And I don't know necessarily that Oglesby is that guy, but who knows? He's back most likely, so there's that. The other concern, obviously, and again, I realize I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth because these are super important issues, is the defensive line. I don't know on the defensive line who's good. I mean, you got some guys from Northwestern State. You're bringing in some other guys from smaller schools. We'll see, but it doesn't reek of something where you're like, man, just look at Arizona. They're going to be really, really good. Those are massive concerns. I think in the secondary, I think everything is probably okay. But linebacker terrifies me as well. The defense, I have no clue what to make of. But if Arizona could get even competent offensive line play, then I think you're probably in a much better spot. But that's going to be the key, though, getting that competent offensive line play. If you can get that competent offensive line play, then I think things become a little bit easier, a little bit, because I think Noah is going to have a bounce back year. I'm a big believer in Noah, obviously, and I think the running game is going to be solid. But that offensive line is what's really going to matter. It's going to be interesting to see how exactly this all does play out because the portal is far from done at this point. You're going to have to continue to add guys. You're going to find, especially through spring. But, like I said, it's with Brent Brennan. I thought he did an absolutely atrocious job in his first year here, but he is back. And not only is he back, he is so again, why not? I hope that he wins. And it's one of those things, when I think that you hope somebody wins, you're like, oh, I would love to be wrong. I would love to be the person that just kind of sits here and says, you know what? Remember how wrong I was on Brent Brennan? So hopefully that happens. We talked about what is success. I don't even know what success is. After last year, I just know that I want to watch something that it looks like I know what I'm watching, and it's fascinating. So there's obviously that. But with Arizona though, it's this is very much of a you got to see it first, and I think that's more than fair. You got to be able to see it because if you don't, from what we saw last year, that margin for error is gone. That benefit of the doubt is totally gone. This is kind of a make or break year, I think. I think with Seth Dagey coming in though, could he be the head coach in waiting? I don't know because this question's been asked a billion different times. If Arizona's losing games, but it's like 56-68 or whatever it is, and the offense looks fun, kind of hard to believe that maybe Deji doesn't get that. So we'll see how that one does play out. But Arizona basketball tonight, you need a win. Obviously, bear down and back the A. Arizona needs this victory. Period. Point blank. If Arizona wins this game, then I think you're off to a good start, and we will see it from there. But it's a win that must happen, and if it doesn't happen, then This is a must win. That's the best way that I can put it. This is a must win for Arizona, and then we will see how it does play out. But as always, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Arizona basketball is here. We all hands on deck, and we are going to continue to talk about Arizona football. But as always, thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Bear down, back the A, and let's get a win tonight. What do you say? And we'll be back with you on the post game.